Good evening. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the City of Burnside Council on this September 13th, 2022, opening at 7 p.m. Welcome to those in the gallery and those who are watching from home. Please stand and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. As we stand in this time of mourning of our Sovereign Queen, let us pray. We give thanks for the life of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We pass on our sincerest sympathies to the royal family and all who are feeling her loss across the United Kingdom, Australia and the world. Our Queen committed herself to a lifetime of service to her people, her country and her Commonwealth, and she will be remembered for her constancy, her diligence, her faith, her hope for the future and her love. For her more than 70 years of service as Queen, we give thanks. Now a minute's silence. On behalf of the City of Burnside, we also acknowledge the proclamation of King Charles III that took place over the weekend and wish our new monarch best wishes for his future reign. For those here and at home, the paintings behind me will remain throughout this period of mourning. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to those who sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war, especially those in the Ukraine. Finally, we seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. We have a relatively short agenda for tonight's meeting since we are in caretaker period. Mask wearing is optional. Please remain respectful and patient during the debates to allow everyone to be heard and to use the auto cue system when you wish to speak. Just a reminder to use your microphone while speaking, but switch it off as soon as you're finished. Also, a reminder to turn off your mobile phone or place it on silent now so the debate is not disturbed. Now, moving through the agenda items, we do have two apologies tonight. One from Councillor Piggott and one from Councillor Davis. There is no one with a leave of absence. I do ask if there's anyone who wishes to declare an interest. There being none, we'll move on to the next part, which is the confirmation of minutes, and I seek someone to move. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Seconded, Councillor Davey. I'll accept those hands since I was looking that way. All right, those in favour, those against, carried. We have no deferred business or public presentations, and now I will move to item 11, which is the reports, and I will seek withdrawal for debate for those. 11.1, Audit and Risk Committee. I'm looking at the screen, there's nothing there. Councillor Cornish.
I'm moving.
You're moving it, seconded by Councillor Lemon. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The minutes of the Eastern Waste Management Authority Special Board Meeting, 11.2. Does anyone wish to withdraw? Councillor Lemon?
No, I'm just
You're
moving.
just moving. All right, moved by Councillor Lemon, seconded by Councillor Cornish. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Mayor's activity report. Just before we move into that, I just wish to note an omission. I omitted to use the proper title for Her Excellency, the Governor of South Australia, in the point about, I can't remember the number now, attended Government House to celebrate 125 years of cottage homes, and that's going to already be changed in the minutes. So, is there anyone who will move that on my behalf? Councillor Dawes, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So we now move to, everyone's received the answers to the questions on notice this afternoon, and we now move to the motion on notice, that is the weekly green FOGO bin. And I think that's Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a modification to the motion, and that's to delete, if you could scroll down, delete number 5, and I'll read it through, and the "and" after 4. I'll read it through. The report be brought to council.
Councillor Davey, you don't actually need to read through because it's actually in the agenda, and all you've done is delete. If you'd made your major changes, I would have asked you to read it. People at home should have the agenda.
Oh, well, I'd just like to read it. Yes, thank you. And then they can do the timing for me. The report be brought to Council in January 2023, which addresses the following. 1, the logistics of City of Burnside adopting the City of Holdfast Bay or similar model for a weekly food or organics, green organics bin collection trial. It should be a trial. And a fortnightly red waste to landfill bin collection trial in the 2023-2024 budget cycle. 2, the negotiations with state government, if necessary, to achieve this. 3, the communication with East Waste, plus the promotion and education necessary to support this change, and a process for any exemptions. So I've moved this motion tonight as since we last considered this issue in April, there have been 2 significant events. 1, we've had a change of government, with an increased policy focus on waste to landfill improvements, plus significant movement on 4 metropolitan councils to trial weekly green organics bin collections. These being Holdfast Bay, Charles Sturt, West Torrens and Unley councils. I believe our Burnside community would benefit from us introducing a trial weekly green bin collection. This is relevant to our strategic plan, at Principle 3, which is improvement and innovation, as well as our environmental sustainability targets, which are to activate our community to progress grassroots sustainability initiatives. And I think that complies with both of these priorities. It's our role to provide the strategic leadership to actively consider and progress a weekly green bin collection trial as an educative tool to start with. As we've seen from all the publicity and any reading that anybody's done, education and awareness is critical to achieving increased rates of organics to recycling. So we have had some problems with getting our community to put their food waste into the green bin. It's that changing that mindset that's the crucial thing. We now have templates from these councils about how weekly collection works, plus proof from the trials that changing the bin collection frequency results in environmental benefits. Trials in these metropolitan councils have seen a reduction of food waste to landfill of approximately 50%. And that's recorded in the comments made by the CEO to my motion. Publicity, re the Holdfast Bay trial in particular, has been very well received in my area. Green Industries, the state government department, offers grant funding for educational initiatives, and it would be great if City of Burnside can take advantage of this by applying for a grant. And there's currently an opportunity arising at the moment for this grant funding for promotion of these and education, which closes on the 7th of October. As the questions on notice show, our rates of rubbish to landfill are increasing and have increased just in the last year alone by 226 tonnes. We need to be proactive and show our community how food recycling can work, with our own trial at City of Burnside included in our budget planning processes, and that all the relevant information is available for the next council to consider. So that's the intent of my motion tonight. It's just that we do the work and are in a position for the next council to consider this motion. So hopefully you'll support this, and we can take this initiative and improve our recycling rates and reduce waste to landfill. I hope you'll support this.
Do I have a seconder? If there is no seconder, sorry, Councillor Hubel.
I'll reserve my right to speak.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Councillor Henschke.
Just a question, Madam Mayor, for the administration. In our agenda, the CEO comments that under item 11, paragraph 11, that the goal to reduce waste, as suggested in the published agenda as a target, is unreasonable. But now that this motion doesn't have a target date, is this still reasonable?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. When you say, is this still reasonable, which...
Overall, to have a report about all of this, or is it covered in... it's already, action's already addressing it all.
Through me, I'm very comfortable that as a council,
Yep.
we are already doing a substantial body of work here.
Yep.
And we are making progress. I have absolutely no doubt. My honest opinion is I don't think this is required.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. My question is for administration too. In number 4, it says, it was planned to occur in a few years' time after work's been done to work on changing waste behaviours in the community. Could I please ask what has been done since the last report to change the behaviours of the community?
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, I'll comment on the first part I'm aware of, then I might hand over to Mr Cant to finish off in case I miss something. I think the biggest body of work is the bin tagging project, and you'll recall that as part of our recent budget we adopted a substantial amount of money to do 1,000 households to be included in a significant bin tagging project, and the results of that bin tagging initiative have been outstanding, and we are seeing them driving behaviour change. Now, do I just hand to Mr Cant if there's anything I missed there?
As the CEO rightly said, that's the main project that we're working on for this current year, this current time, and we've just commenced the wider trial period over the last week. What I would suggest is there is a lot of education work and further work that is being done by the team over the last year, but I will provide a full summary of all of our initiatives within this space within the annual environmental mega report, which will be presented to Council in October next month.
Councillor Lemon. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Councillor Turnbull, can you just turn your microphone off? Thank you. Now it's Councillor Lemon.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, if I may. And my first question is, this report, should this motion get up, how will this report be different to the one that you actually provided for us in, and I'll just go and look, in, is it August, April? April this year? How will this one differentiate from that? Is my first question.
Yep. Through Madam Mayor, I might refer that to Mr Cant.
Through the Mayor, the vast majority of it, and I would imagine our recommendation would be exactly the same that we presented to Council in April of this year. However, with the passing of time, there is more information that we can provide to Council, particularly with respect to the results of the previous trials from the organics waste, and also learning from Holdfast Bay in particular with respect to providing updated stats from their recent trials as well.
Thank you. And my second question is, My understanding with the trials that have, with the stuff that's been taking place in other councils is that they are trials. This motion actually calls for a report not on trials. As far as I know, this has not been adopted as a future thing. This has always been done as a pilot scheme. Would that be correct?
Through Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cant.
So this report is not calling for a trial?
Yes, it is, part 1.
Through your worship, just to add to the CEO's comment there as well, that is absolutely correct. And I would also suggest that the whole City of Holfast, the way they've got around the legislation is that it's an opt-out programme. So for those who choose to still have a weekly red bin collection, they are still able to do so. That's how they've been able to get around that. With respect to the wording of the motion, I read it the same as Councillor Lemon, that it's calling for a report on the logistics, not calling for a trial.
Can I just add to that? Holfast Bay have actually staged it over 4 different parts of their city over 2 years. And they only just put it through their 4th section of the council on the 2nd of September. So only from the 2nd of September has this process been operating. And what they do is, as Mr. Cant said, people opt out of it rather than into it, because they figured that's a simpler way of getting people to, they've got to fill out an electronic form to stop it from happening. The other thing is that they do is they put a great big pink sticker on all those who opt out to show that those people are not part of the process. Plus, it also helps the people who are collecting the bins, which of course is Solo, which is the company that they use. And obviously this would have to be something that would have to be taken up by the East Waste, because East Waste are our current contractor. I'm not aware that Unley has been doing any of this at all, but I am aware that of the bin tagging that's been going on and how successful that is actually happening here in Burnside. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I asked a question on notice about waste to landfill, and I notice in the response we've had an increase of some 240 tonnes of waste to landfill in this financial year compared to in the last financial year compared to 2021. Can anyone explain to me what that increase is? If we're doing all these activities and recycling efforts, why the waste to landfill is increasing with the costs that go along with it?
Through Madam Mayor, as you'll note in that response that was provided and the report that Mr. Cant mentioned that's coming to us in October, the full response will be provided there. I don't have that information with me this evening.
Councillor Lemon.
I'll speak to the motion if I may. I'll speak to the motion if I may. While I appreciate the sentiments behind this, because waste and the management of waste is very much an environmental issue, and I think we should be doing everything we can to, in fact, make our footprint smaller, I don't know that this motion will give us what we need to do. I feel very uncomfortable about imposing on our residents a fortnightly red bin collection and a week. As much as I'd like to have a weekly green bin collection, because that would really suit me, I don't think it suits most people at this stage. I think what we're doing in terms of education, and I think that's the way we need to go with waste management. We need to bring people with us, and people need to understand that they don't have to put their green bin out every week, their red bin out every week. They don't have to put it out every month. And in fact, we could start educating people that they put their red bin out every 6 months, because it isn't just the waste to landfill that costs us money. It's collecting a red bin that's only got this much stuff in it. All of this affects us. So I think that bringing the community with us and educating them is massive, as opposed to what this may do, unless I'm reading it wrong, and that is, this is what we're going to do. We're only going to collect your red bin once a fortnight, and you should put your food scraps in your green bin, and there you go, suck it up. I don't know that that's the way we can go. I really don't. I don't think our people will like that one little bit. My red bin goes out maybe once every 6 months, but I don't have any nappies. I don't have stuff that other people have that goes into a red bin. So, I mean, my footprint is really small because I make an effort to keep it small. And that's because I've educated myself over a long period of time. And as a council, I think we're in the right path in terms of educating our people, because the lessening of waste to landfill and also to recycling and also to the green bins is actually an education campaign. It is getting people to compost at home. It is getting people to think about where they're putting their trash, which bin they're putting it in. It is getting people to stop and think. And once we've done that, then I think we can look at frequency. But until we've done that, I think we risk alienating our community, and we also risk paying a lot more for our waste collection with very little in the way of benefit, in my opinion. So for that reason, I won't support this motion, although I support its sentiments. But I think we've done this, we've brought a report back before. The report that we get back next will just have one more item on it, and that will be the results of Holdfast Bay. And I know that we'll get an infodoc on that as a matter of course anyhow. So I don't know that this will actually achieve anything except frightening people, quite frankly. And I don't know that that's the way to go. I think we need to all be walking down this path together, shoulder to shoulder, and not fearful.
Councillor Davey?
I just had another question in relation to how East Waste has drivers for keeping the costs of waste to landfill down. Could someone please clarify that? Thanks.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll take that question on notice.
Councillor Dawes?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think Councillor Lemon must have been reading my notes, because I think she said I was going to say. So,
Say them again.
yeah, I'll say them again. Why not? Look, my first comment was I understand the sentiment of Councillor Davies' motion. I really do. And I understand that a report has been requested. I do understand those 2 points. But I also note the lack of support at this time from residents, and that does concern me. So we're not yet there with the residents. And I think there does need to be further education. You know, I've had my green bin just tagged last week, so I was very pleased that I've been involved in the next trial. I do prefer to wait until the results of the Holdfast Bay scheme have come through, and they've just started. So I'd suggest that we wait for over 12 months, not only from the point of view of how it's been accepted, but also the real costs involved. And I just want to understand those a little bit better. But I think my main point is that this should be a matter for the new council to consider. That's where I'm sitting at the moment. So I won't be supporting it on this time.
Councillor Henschke?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question, and then I'd like to speak. So question for the administration. The report that was planned by the administration, not this one, but the one you're planning, will you be looking at the environmental changes we've had in that we've had COVID, we've had people doing lots of online shopping. When stuff gets delivered, it's contained in huge quantities of polystyrene and packaging, and I just noticed just in my area that bins are overflowing with polystyrene, and I'm wondering what council can do to help. I know the hard waste collection you have to book and so forth, but I mean personally I had something delivered and I thought, oh my God, what do I do with all this polystyrene? And I had to sort of chop it into little bits over periods of weeks. But, I see other people just stuffing it into their bins and, it's a huge factor. I think now the world has changed with online shopping, and I'm wondering whether your report will help inquire into that.
Through Madam Mayor, whilst I haven't got the report in front of me, Dr. Phil's turned his mind to what's driving it, and certainly one of the factors that I know he's going to explore is the work from home phenomenon and what impact that's had on people's waste they're generating. In simple terms, if you're sitting at home all day, you're generating more waste than if you're in the office. Yep. But that will be in the report.
So my follow-up question is: will the report also review the hard waste collection system, which used to be like on a certain day every year, and now it's sort of on call, and whether we can have more on-call hard waste collection, which might be a little bit smaller, so you don't have to, wait for a whole year and collect your 2 cubic metres and all your mattresses in your house and then book, but just something a bit more bite-sized and a bit more practical for people.
Through Madam Mayor, I might refer that to Mr. Cant, whether he can share any light on that one for me.
Through the Mayor, the annual report does provide the data on the hard waste and the trends with respect to that, but it won't revisit the model of delivery. So it'll certainly give us some indication of how it's tracking and particularly compared to previous years, but it certainly won't look at the model of the frequency of doing so.
Councillor Hughes?
I just have a question. I think it was the last point, so I had to restart my computer, so I've lost the reference. But the last point in your response, CEO says that essentially the new council will be inducted and they'll go through the policies and procedures. So if the new council were to come and say we want this report, I'm assuming given that you could deliver it in January, it's not a significant amount of effort or time frame that you would still be able to deliver it if someone came in November, December or January and said we want this report, it would be a reasonable turnaround.
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, thank you for that question. Councillor Hughes, I am actually concerned about the January time frame. The team have intimated they may struggle to make that. Taking out the zero waste to landfill makes the report a little bit easier to produce, but I still think we're probably looking at perhaps March is a more practical time frame if this does get up. But I feel that this is a matter that the new council should be considering, and in fact, the very fact we're having this debate, I'm concerned that this could become an election matter. The technical legal advice was that asking for a report doesn't constitute it becoming an election matter, but I've taken a more broader interpretation of that, and I am concerned that this may become an election matter if a decision is made this evening.
Councillor Jones?
I'm afraid I can't support this motion. I just don't see what value we're going to get out of wasting the staff's time to tell us what we already know, because they've already told us the answers. The people who should be doing something is the state government, because the state government are the ones who mandate weekly red bin collections. So they're the ones who've got the power to change this. That's their decision. If they think that we should do them less frequently, then they should be doing that, especially if they're so environmentally conscious, as Councillor Davey asserts. So, frankly, I mean, I agree with Councillor Lemon. You don't have to put your red bin up. Mine normally has one bag in it a week. Until I was on council, it never actually occurred to me that you don't have to put it up. So that would be a very quick win, just to advise people of don't bother putting it up if you don't have to. I'm pretty religious at recycling food waste, as my, I'm constantly cursing my family for their inability to sort out their rubbish. And I don't need a weekly green bin collection, because even, with our food scraps, the green bins never fill after a week. So I think we're just adding cost for no purpose. The smell is not so offensive. that it's a health issue. So I think I would just say, no, let's leave this, and I think it's sensible. Let's leave it for the next council and see what they think.
Councillor Davey, you have another question?
Yes, I just had a question about what our waste levy rates are and the cost of our waste to landfill is.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll refer to Mr Cant. I don't have the figures at top of my
Yeah,
head.
I don't have those specifically to hand. We'll have to take that on notice.
Councillor Hubel, I think it might be your turn.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Nina Marnie, greet you all this evening. Look, I've been very, very interested in the arguments that I've heard. Generally, the tide feels that it's turning against this motion. It hasn't quite flicked me over the line yet, though. I still do support what this motion is trying to do. So I guess I'd speak to a couple of the points that have been made. I certainly don't like the idea of the opt-out pink stickers. That coming up really jumped at me. I don't think that really highlighting people not participating is useful in terms of education campaigns. Look, I agree education is certainly the way we need to be going, but I think having experience with new methods and being exposed to the unknown is part of that education process, and I guess I'm speaking as an educator. It's all well and good to educate residents on this is what you should do, but while we're still collecting landfill weekly, behaviour's not likely to change. Amongst the more motivated residents, absolutely it will, but I think the idea of a trial and the form that takes, I'd certainly be very interested in looking at giving residents the opportunity to give this a go and see, okay, how is this actually going to change my life? Because I think a lot of people would be willing, but perhaps potentially there's a bit of fear of the unknown there. So I think giving residents the opportunity to participate in a new type of model with the support of the council is a good thing. Look, I think, yeah, absolutely this is a matter for the new chamber, and I think that by requesting this report to come back to the new chamber, be it in March, I'd be very happy with that as well. The time frame's not a deal breaker for me, but I think it tells the new chamber, hey, this is something that is actually important, that we want to do. And yes, I absolutely have full faith that the administration is making headway with this. The phrase Dr. Phil has turned his mind to this fills me with incredible confidence. And the environmental scorecards we get are magnificent in telling us what is being done. But I think a motion like this says, let's look at this particular part of it a little bit more closely. And look, if the report is a carbon copy of the April one, then it won't be hard to produce. So I do hope this gets up, and yeah, leave it there.
Before I go back to Councillor Davey, I attended a presentation by the Mayor of Holfast Bay and one of their environmental officers 2.5 weeks ago. And at that meeting, most of the metropolitan mayors or representatives of their council were in attendance. And the most important thing that they are all concerned about is actually monitoring the success or lack thereof of the project at Holfast Bay. And that has taken 2 years to gradually develop it through their one council area. And it means also the involvement of Solo, which is the company that do their waste. And it means that there has to be a massive coordination effort between their operator and the council. There are massive costs currently with running this dual program because it means the trucks go round, the green trucks go around every week, and so do the red trucks go around every week. So they're still using fuel for those to drive those trucks every week. They do have trialled offering people a larger red bin instead of a smaller red bin, and that's something that would also impact on East Waste. Resilient East has been working with the equivalent, I can't remember their title, in the West, and they've been looking at the project that's been operating over at Holdfast Bay for the last 2 years, and the state government's been watching it as well and monitoring it. There is interest from all metropolitan councils in finding out and monitoring for the next couple of years how effective this actually is going to be. Initially, it had a really good result. It went from red waste. Now, remember that they didn't have that educational program, but they had massive consultation with their community before they went into this project and then did it region by region, taking 2 years to roll it out. And they moved from 30% to 64% improvement in food waste going into the green bin as a result of, they believe, the rollout of this project. But they haven't done the bin tagging project. They haven't been involved in some of the initiatives that this council has done with East Waste. So I'm just providing you with that information, which is what I heard direct from the horse's mouth only 2.5 weeks ago. And as I said, that's everyone in the city, from the Adelaide City Council to Onkaparinga to Marion and to the north, are waiting and watching to see how this is going to work and whether it really is going to reduce costs, because at the moment it's not reducing costs. Mr. Kelly.
Madam Mayor, I've managed to find an answer to Councillor Davis' question. Thanks to my team. I can report that the landfill levy is $149 per tonne, but when you take into account the actual cost of disposing of that material as well, that adds another $44 a tonne. So our actual cost is $193.43 per tonne, and the budget's been based on 7,500 tonnes, bringing us to 1.45 million for an annual budget on landfill cost.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. To reduce our waste to landfill rates, we must increase our information to and retrain our community. I think everybody agrees with this, about our recycling opportunities, and they're becoming more and more sophisticated and informed each year. But I believe we must do anything to keep waste of every sort from going into landfill, with all the attendant costs. The motion only asks for a report on the logistics of undertaking a trial, so it's up to the administration to tell us how this could apply to Burnside. And the best known model is, as the Mayor has usefully outlined, is using the Holdfast Bay model. And I would correct people by saying this, I don't believe this is an election issue. There's been massive publicity about Holdfast Bay, and that's what my community has reacted to, and why I have been asked why council isn't doing something and why can't we do it. So I'm acting to represent my community, who have, despite the report saying there has been a community survey with very poor results, I don't think it was a very informed survey, and I think we would get a much better response from a more informed community survey from our residents. They're very aware. So the logistics of this, which would include education and promotion, and it has an opt-out capacity for people who circumstances mean that they couldn't sustain a weekly red bin collection. Of course, this issue should be considered by the next council. That is my intent. But we have other councils taking the initiative already, showing what can be done. So I believe should we. No one can answer why the rates of waste to landfill have increased by 226 tonnes in the last year. The state government waste management strategy of 2020-2025, developed by the previous government, contains targets to reduce waste to landfill. None of these are mentioned in any of our reports. Our bin tagging project is a good start, but we must show leadership and innovation, work with the state government, work with other councils who have started this sort of innovation. We haven't undertaken any sort of cost-benefit analysis on how we bring down our waste to landfill rates. But that is not a reason to maintain the status quo. It disturbs me that people seem to be talking this down. We need to show leadership and prepare the next council and give them the opportunity to provide leadership and do some work on this issue. So hopefully you'll support the motion tonight. And thanks very much for all your input.
Those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. Division's been called, so those who supported the motion, please stand. It's Councillor Davey and Councillor Hubel. Those against, Councillor Hughes, Cornish, Henschke, Jones. I'm not looking to see if you catch up. Hughes, Cornish, Henschke, Jones, Dawes, Turnbull, and Lemon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's right. Now, urgent or other business. Is there any urgent or other business? No one's contacted me about anything. And I think that is, and we have no confidential items, so thank you for your attendance, and I will close the meeting at 7.